Hello and welcome to the physics module brought to you by CJR Gaming. My name is Christian Richards and we finally are beginning the module I think everybody's been waiting for. In this episode I'm first going to just get our region server set up and ready to work with our physics. So to begin, I've got my complex server packages folder open, which is where NuGet puts all of my downloaded pieces and parts for the complex server. As you can see, I played around with NUnit, I played around with a mocking setup just to do a little bit of testing as I have time. But I've also gone and went to the link that'll be in the description below, going to the bullet no XNA. Someone else had already done a majority of the work, but it was listed that it was still back on version, I believe it was 1.78 or 1.79, and since that time, or sorry, 2.78, and since that time, it's been updated, and so I went to the original C++, made the few modifications that were different from the latest version of this to my version, and then I posted it up on a public repository. And then this is just where I've downloaded it to. It's just a Git repository. I've got the main folder and then the subfolder, and then in bin and debug where I've built the DLL. I'm just going to copy that, and I am going to paste it over into a new folder in my packages. I'm just going to call this Bullet Physics, and then inside of here I'm just going to drop that file on in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Visual Studio, and underneath the references I'm going to add a new reference. And because we can't use NuGet, I just have to do a browse, go up one directory, into that packages directory, into Bullet Physics, and then grab bullet noxna.dll. And that'll include that reference in. So that's everything we need in order to have access to Bullet Physics. The next thing I want to do is, I had mentioned it before, but I have these... I have this little bit of code here where I just say region code, and we had already created the region, but we just never did anything here. So we're going to add in 2 lines of code into this and 2 lines of code into the decay, which is region.addObject. We're just going to add this, and then I'm also going to do region.addVisibleObject and add this. Now the reason I can add both of these is because they both expect an iObject, and with this being the C object that inherits directly from iObject, we're good to go. Secondly, down here, we're doing the exact opposite of our spawn. I'm going to do region.removeVisibleObject this, and then a region.removeObject this. And that's all there is really to getting our object into the region and visible to the region, which is then going to set up all of our visible code to be able to set up our known object lists and get everything taken care of in terms of working with the region code. The other thing I'm going to do is I want to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this folder Background Threads. And this folder is going to contain 2 background threads right now. We're not going to delve into much of the code just yet. I just want to add them and get them ready for us for the future videos. The first one is going to be called Physics Background Thread. It's going to be a public class, and it's going to inherit from iBackgroundThread. There we go. And then I'm just going to really quick go ahead and implement the members so that we do have it compiling correctly. It's just going to have a setup, a run, and a stop. And then we'll be adding things here in a little bit in order to work with our region code. as well as getting us set up with a small area for us to play on top of that will be our physics area. The second one I want to create is going to be called Player Update Background Thread. And again, you'll notice that, whoops, except when I forget the D, that I call all of these background threads. Even though they're in the same folder and everything, I just like to make sure that people are aware, and myself too when I'm working, that these are the background threads that are running behind the scenes. And they handle various things for us. The physics background thread is going to be run roughly 60 frames a second. It's because it isn't directly corresponding to the client, we can actually have it run at whatever speed we want. But 60 frames a second does seem to be a pretty decent amount of time to work with the background thread. And then our player update background thread is going to be run approximately every 100 milliseconds. So about 10 times per second, the player update background thread on each region server is going to be running and sending updates. Now, one of the things that we will be working with is setting it up so that we only send updates when the player is actually moving. So we're not just constantly spamming out a whole bunch of stuff when the player is just standing still in front of a vendor or whatever. There is some setup so that we don't have that going on. And then on top of that, because it makes use of the known object list, it's only going to send those messages out to those players that can actively see this character. So again, it's one of those things where you're not going to be able to listen for some message to come across and have people hack this machine and be able to pick up people who are invisible. It's really, the code we've written so far is going to help make it so that things that are invisible and things that aren't moving aren't going to get updated to the other players, so they won't even know that they're there, and it also cuts down on our server bandwidth. So with those things in place, really that's all I wanted to cover for this particular video. Just getting us set up, getting our physics kicked off to a good start, having it referenced, and then getting our first background threads set up. And so with that, we'll go ahead and call it a video. The next video, we will start taking a look at the actual physics, beginning with our physics background thread, getting it set up so that our physics are running, so that we have a small area to play with, and then we'll start moving into the player update background thread, which will just update us on the position, and then from there we'll jump over to the client and we'll start handling the actual movement and then passing it to the server and watching the server do something with it. Look forward to it. Till then.